I'm so excited for today. So what I have inside this box is actually a combination coffee maker and alarm clock, and it's called the Barisieur. Now this is something that has been out since 2016 as a Kickstarter, and I actually was really interested in it back when it came out in 2016, but I was a senior in high school. So of course I didn't have the financial means, the time, the space, even the knowledge to use this thing. So I just kind of ogled it for its design because I thought it was really pretty, and then I forgot about it. But now that I'm somewhat more of an adult, and now that I have this channel, I thought it would be the perfect chance to fulfill that teenage dream of mine and test this out. So for total transparency, this is something I purchased with my own money, and I am really hoping it works because it's a little bit on the pricier end, but I think it's beautiful, and I like the idea of the gimmick of having a cup of coffee just brewed and ready to go as soon as your alarm goes off. So we're gonna do a full unboxing. I've never used this before. I haven't really opened up the box before. And then we're gonna actually set it up on my nightstand and give it a test in the scenario that it's meant to be used in. So I am so excited to assemble this thing. I'm also really excited to brew this coffee from Stay Golden that I have, which leads us into today's sponsor, who is Trade Coffee. I want to give a huge thank you to Trade Coffee for sponsoring today's video. With Trade, you can find new coffees from roasters all over the US. Through a simple quiz, Trade will help you find coffees that fit your exact needs and ship them straight from the roastery. Now, after I filled out their quiz, Trade had this wonderful Mexican coffee from Stay Golden sent right to my front doorstep. Stay Golden is a Nashville-based roaster that I actually visited when I was doing a barista competition there, so I was super excited when I saw that Trade's quiz had matched me with them. Now, while I brew this beautiful coffee with notes of dark cherry and chocolate, let me explain to you how Trade works. You can choose the frequency you want your coffee to arrive at so you'll never run out, and you'll always have the freshest roasts. After you finish the bag, you can rate it on Trade so they can continue to delight you with tailor-made selections for you and your coffee routine. Also, Trade ships all of their coffees in compostable packaging, and they guarantee that you'll love your first coffee. But hey, even if you don't, they'll even ship you out a different bag for free. And if all of that doesn't convince you, then let me tell you that as my viewer, you'll get 50% off your first bag when you sign up with Trade. Just click the link in my description, take the quiz, and enter code MDC50. This offer is valid for the first 100 people who click the link below, so there's no time to lose. And thank you again to Trade for the tasty coffee and for sponsoring today's video. Okay, let's find out what's actually in this box. Okay, so we have the main body of the Barisieur, which is actually kind of fun. It has little suction cups on the bottom, so it'll keep it nice and steady on your nightstand. We have some instructions in here we'll dive into in a second. This is the top tray. This is removable, so if you ever want to serve your coffee, you can. This is where your water is going to be boiling in, and this is kind of like the shower head that the water is going to come out of for your pour over. We have a nice little cup here that will be your serving cup. We have our metal filter here. And to my knowledge, you can put paper filters in this, but we're just gonna use it as a metal filter. You also have this little nifty thing, which is actually a holder for milk/cream. And of course you have your power plug and a very thick book of instructions. Okay, now to assemble this. Okay, so the instructions on here seem pretty clear, and they're also stuff that I've seen in the instruction booklet, so we're gonna take this front sticker off, which, note to self, the sticker does not come off the easiest. So I imagine that goes there. This seems to go right here. Okay, that was extraordinarily easy. So let's go set it up as an alarm clock, and let's talk a little bit more about some of the functions of this thing. Hello, and welcome to the other room of my apartment. This is my nightstand, and this is the Barisieur on my nightstand. Now, I've taken the liberties of getting some of this set up already, so let's get a little closer look and talk about some of the good things and some of the bad things about this. So here we go, front of the machine. One of the more notable features of it is that you have this little drawer here. Inside, as I mentioned before, you have a tiny coffee scoop, and then you also have a little storage container if for some reason you want to store pre-ground coffee in here, or imagine if you have any other tools or like sugar packets, you can stick it in here. Now, I've already set the timer on this clock. You can have a 12-hour clock, or you can have a 24-hour clock, whichever is your preference. Right now, as you can see, it is 1:33 p.m., and I have it in the alarm and brew setting right here. This little toggle right here has a couple different settings. You can have no alarm, which means you're just using this as a brewer. You can have just a brewer, or you can have what we're doing right now, which is the combination brewer and alarm. You have this little knob right here that goes up and it goes down. If you push it up, it'll stop your alarm. So if it's going off, that'll just cancel it. However, if you push it down, that sets it for a 5-minute snooze. And you have your little make button, and you can use this to brew independently of the alarm. Again, if you just want to treat this as a brewer. Now this is your main control knob, so if you're changing the time on your alarm or your clock, you're just going to turn this. And then this is the alarm volume button, so if you want to change it, you can put it quieter or you can make it louder. And then this is kind of cool. So this is going to be the brew delay button. So let's say you want to have your coffee ready like 5 minutes after your alarm's done. You can change it to 5. Whoop. Didn't expect it to beep. You can change it to 10, 15, or you can have your coffee ready 5 minutes before your alarm goes off. But for the sake of this test, we're just going to put it at 0. Which means it'll brew as the alarm goes off, to my understanding. On the back, you just have a spot for your power cord, you have your on and off button, and you also have a USB port, so if you want to charge your phone or anything that's USB to whatever, you have that, which is very nice. Now, I've already added water to the max line of our boiling / water carafe, and I found that it holds about 200 grams / milliliters of water. And since I've never used this before, I'm just gonna kind of go with a standard ratio, so we're gonna do a 1:16 ratio of water to coffee for this brew. And that means I've added 12.5 grams of medium coarsely ground coffee to my metal filter. Now, here comes one of the more negative things of this machine, is that if you want this coffee to be brewed with your alarm fresh in the morning, that means you're gonna have to put this coffee in ahead of time before you fall asleep, which of course means this is just oxidizing and losing a lot of its freshness overnight. This doesn't inherently mean you're gonna have a bad cup of coffee or anything, but it does mean it might be slightly inferior to something you might make if you were grinding fresh in the morning. But it doesn't really bug me that much because that would be my expectation with buying this machine. It's a little bit of a trade-off of quality over convenience. And if you're getting a coffee that is maybe slightly less than what you would get normally, this might be a good opportunity to add cream, which leads me to one of my absolute favorite parts of this thing, and that is this little carafe right here, which is actually a refrigeration unit that will keep your milk cold at 5 degrees Celsius until you're ready to use it. So don't feel weird about me having just cream in here that will inevitably sit for about 8 hours to 12 hours to, honestly, 6 hours if you're me. So while it may seem completely weird to imagine putting cow's milk or dairy into this and just leaving it sitting, don't worry, it's staying cool, it's not gonna hurt you afterwards. But to mention what's probably my biggest critique of this machine is that you don't have really any control over your brew besides the input of water and your input of dry coffee. If you can see here on the top of this kind of like shower head feature, you have multiple different spouts here that your water is going to exit from, which is nice because it should wet the bed very evenly. But besides that, you don't have any control over, let's say, your bloom or the amount of pulses you want to have when introducing water to your coffee. This is basically set at one setting and it's going to brew continuously, to my understanding. Again, it's that convenience over customization factor. So that seems like all the basics of this machine. Again, a lot of these brewing parameters that I set up, the 1:16 ratio, was kind of just off of my own brain, going off of standard practices, because in this like absolute Bible of instructions, there's not a lot pertaining to what you're supposed to do when you start brewing. There's a lot more information about it being an alarm clock, which for me is very much like the secondary feature of this. So let's figure out how to set up an alarm and let's give it a go. Just to give us plenty of time, I'm gonna set it for 1:50 p.m. for our alarm. Okay, so I'm gonna hold down this front button for 2 seconds. Okay. And then I can set it for, I want PM. 1:50. Okay. And then I think I press this. Okay, so that little thing came on, the little coffee, so I think I did it. I think that's it. I'm gonna get all snuggly in bed and we're gonna pretend like we're waking up to this. I'm actually very excited for this coffee. It's almost 2 o'clock now and I'm ready. Also, it feels strange to wear a turtleneck in bed, I will say. Ugh, you're leaving me. Fine. Go, be free. Okay, the alarm went off, so I'm gonna just stop it, right? There's a slight noise. I don't know if you can hear it, but something definitely activated, so I think that's gonna be the water boiling, but let's observe. I could see why one would want to maybe set this to start brewing 5 minutes before you wake up, because even though that took 6 minutes, a lot of that is just getting the water to boil, so the steam will push it from the carafe over to the brew head. It looks like it's about 4 or 5 ounces in total. It's not a very complex cup. I mean, this coffee itself is very, very sweet, so a lot of that sweetness just inherently comes through. And all in all, I do think this coffee would be a lot better if you were doing it in a manual pour over. But that being said, it's nice, you know? It's nice. I would like to utilize our little milk carafe because I think it's adorable and it's my absolute favorite part, so I'm gonna add some cream. I guess just, I didn't really think about this. Just angle it, I'll put it there. I would say I don't know how I feel about drinking coffee in bed. Very nice. Our milk carafe is nicely chilled. And I didn't bring a spoon. I'm gonna use our handy little scoop. Definitely not what it's meant for, but in this scenario, it works perfectly. That's very lovely. I'm still trying to decide if I would actually use this as a bedside brewer. Like, I don't think I've ever been in a rush that I need coffee immediately when I wake up. Like, I can shower first. I'm more of a post-shower coffee person. The gimmick's kind of fun. This feels kind of brunchy, like I'm having brunch in bed. Where I really think this thing belongs is on a desk. Like, you have a large desk, you are using this as our clock, and then also whenever you want, you can just brew coffee in front of you and it looks amazing and it's really fun. Because genuinely, the process of this brewing was really, really cool to watch. And I feel like you might miss out on that if you brew it like 5 minutes before you wake up. So, was this worth the exorbitant amount of money I spent to get it? I don't know. I think I'm gonna put this on my desk. I'm gonna try it out for a couple of weeks, see if I actually use it as a brewer on my desk, and then I'll have to report back. Because for me, I don't think it works as a bedside brewer, but I do think it could have a place in my everyday like workplace environment. Now, as uncustomizable as the brewing is for this machine, I will say that I stand by high school me and I still think it's absolutely gorgeous. Both in the physical design and in the actual brewing process. Like watching the water boil and then transfer over to the group head was a really, really cool thing to see. Now, just for fun and because I got a new gimbal, I am now gonna take some really pretty shots of this brewing and you're gonna see what I'm talking about of this actually being a very, very gorgeous process. I'm gonna go do that and then we will wrap up this video. This was a very fun video to film, and let me know if you have any dream coffee machines that you've wanted to try out like I did this one. I'll do my best to report back in a couple weeks about how this goes on my desk, because I do think I have a lot of use for this machine. I just don't think it's necessarily an alarm clock bedside brewer for me. And also, once again, huge thank you to my sponsor Trade Coffee this week. Again, this is a cup of coffee from Stay Golden. It is very, very tasty, and if you want 50% off your first bag, you can go to drinktrade.com and use code MDC50. Now, I gotta go back and like actually do what I was supposed to do today because it's now 2:08 and I've sat in bed drinking coffee for the last half an hour. Have a lovely week, everyone. I'll see you next time.